Set on finding Greez Dritus, Cal makes his way to Koboh. Danger is immediately evident in the music as he exits hyperspace with dissonances in the sustained brass and harp glissando.
So good.
A brief lull in the music is interrupted as Cal notices the anomaly just outside Koboh's atmosphere. This object, in fact, is highlighted by a powerful statement in the brass and choir. And it's when I heard the choir actually that I knew this anomaly was going to play an integral role in the Survivor storyline. The use of choir tends to be something that composers will hold in reserve, and I believe that this still tracks back to a time before digital instruments. At that point, composing for choir would have required then hiring a 30 to 60 piece choir and suffering the financial costs of such a large group. It's the primary reason why most classical symphonies don't employ choir as well. Something would have needed to truly be special and in complete need of choir in order to validate the costs. With the rise of realistic digital instruments, hearing a choir is far more common now, but the practice still tends to limit itself to special moments. The only notable moment of choir in the original trilogy is during the final battle between Luke and Vader in Return of the Jedi. However, with an almost limitless budget for the prequels, choir can be heard numerous times in The Phantom Menace alone. So we're programmed that when we hear the choir conversing back and forth with the brass, to be mindful that this is an important moment in the story.
Let's land.
As Cal begins to descend towards Koboh, the music subtly outlines his theme. As the Mantis begins failing, the music takes on a far more energetic and desperately chaotic character. Cal's theme comes in again in the trombones, and as he and BD struggle to control the ship.
Nice one, buddy. We're not gonna make it to the hangar.
The music continues to go up both in pitch and suspense until it's suddenly cut off, leaving us hanging in suspense just as the Mantis hangs at the edge of the cliff.
Got a bird down. Hold on, BD.
As we begin on Koboh, there's no music. We're left to just hear the sounds of nature and with a sense of calm and peacefulness. It's no wonder then that Cal remarks on how peaceful it is.
On the other side of all. It's so calm. Bravo would have liked this.
As we proceed just a little further, still calm but eerie music begins to give us a sense that not all is right, while adding mysticism to the planet. Low instruments enter as well as Cal spots the massive Lucrehulk.
A Lucrehulk? What's an old Separatist battleship doing here?
The low instruments, also being the largest instruments, are able to add weight and size to the relic of the Clone Wars. It feels appropriate then that the next track cue begins with parallelism in the low voices.
Come on, Mantis won't repair itself. Just hope Greez has the parts we need.
This then gives way to an eerie and cold melody in what sounds like a combination of French horn and a double-reeded instrument, but it's a little hard to determine.
The Lucrehulk is through here. Doesn't look like the gate is working, though.
The melody begins in a descending chromatic line
The
before
Luke goes through
leaping.
here.
This chromatic motion
like the
gives
gate is
it an
working, though.
unnatural feeling. It's followed then by a response in the bass clarinet, another relatively obscure instrument. Then the clarinet before finding its way back to the French horn.
Let's check it out. Rusted, like everything else around here.
But the overall feel of this track also reminds me of several other classical pieces. The first is Claude Debussy's Prelude to the Afternoon of a Faun, with its own clearly stated descending line in the flute. But it is also reminiscent of this section from Stravinsky's Rite of Spring. And if that piece sounds familiar to you, well, it should, because I've mentioned it before when speaking about the music of A New Hope, as this Rite of Spring was part of the temp track for the original Star Wars movie and had a heavy influence on John Williams during the original score. So, hearing Haab and Barton pay homage to the monumental piece from the early 20th century is great.
Let's check it out.
This becomes one of the main tracks that we'll hear return several other places within this section of Koboh. It therefore comes to represent much of the slow-moving and less lush portion of the planet. One exception is as Cal exits the caves. We're instead greeted to the scenery by an odd combination of beautiful strings and then also this haunting echo sound that I can't quite identify as an instrument.
Let's keep going.
Cal's theme also comes through multiple times as we continue along the path, marking new milestones in the journey. However, listen to how the track then transforms into back and forth with this call in response between the solo French horn and the low brass. I enjoy how each planet seems to have its own version of Cal Kestis' theme as he continues to have new experiences. In this case, it's slow and eerie, but the call and response also gives it a sense of playfulness that surprised me. This becomes the main track for the second section of Koboh. There's also this occurrence of Cal's theme that occurred while in this strange tomb that I had no idea what to do with.
Slice that.
I imagine it'll have something to do with that energy cell later on though, and I'll be coming back. As we near the Rambler's Reach outpost, the music becomes much brighter with legato strings and a more major mode feeling. It feels more settled and stable just like the outpost while still using the French horn and bass clarinet from earlier tracks to connect everything. But there's also music that gives this outpost, along with the accented drawl, mounts, and saloon, the feeling of a western town. As we hear the steel string guitar enter, we can't help but feel like we're in an old western town, out on the prairie as well, and I'm sure that this was in fact the goal of this music. But overall, with Flails of Cal's theme continuing to come through, the music gives this little settlement an unmistakable feeling of innocence and peacefulness. One notable exception is the mines. The music is full of eerie high string drones and clusters that give a horrifying feeling of what's to come. Of course, that is a Rancor, which definitely took me way too many attempts to defeat. I mean, come on. This one-hit kill thing was insanely annoying, but ultimately very realistic. And the music that went with the battle was appropriately frantic and full of chaos, along with the trumpet and horn sirens of Cal's theme. The trills in the flutes, attacks from the brass, and the constant pulsing of the percussion kept my heart constantly racing as I was killed over and over and over and over again. The other exception to peacefulness is when we meet Ravis, along with Turgle and Doma. The music stayed low during this section, giving way to important dialogue and character introductions while still giving a sense of danger. Right after this, we finally enter Pylon's saloon, where we finally meet with Greez, who is perfectly fine. I was actually expecting there to be more tension between these two, but they pick up on perfectly friendly terms. Right after this, we walk by the saloon's DJ area, which is playing music that is clearly in need of some help. This was my tip-off that we'd be doing some sort of improvements to this bar, because this was obviously designed in a way to need improvement. But before we can do any of this, Greez tries, to no avail, to convince Cal to step away from the fight. The music for this is tender but dark. Its weight is reflected in the solo horn line, which reflects the weight of Cal's character.
You know when to walk away from a rigged game, otherwise you are going to end up losing something you could never replace.
But now, with Greez found, we're sent off on our way through these ancient tunnels and the next part of the Jedi Survivor story. But I'm also curious what you all think. Did this music match the feeling of Koboh for you so far? How did you feel about the Rancor fight? And how did you feel getting to just own battle droids as Cal Kestis? I'm breaking the game down as I play it, similar to how I would watch a weekly TV show, so there are elements that may make more sense to me as I release later videos for further missions. Tell me in the comments below what you think, and consider checking out my Patreon page using the link in the description, where you can help support this channel for as little as $1 a month, or download PDFs and MP3s of projects as I complete them, along with other perks at higher tiers. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to learn more about the music of a galaxy far, far away, and as always, may the be with you.